Cheesy the Podcast, presented by Just Cheesy Productions.
Hi there, I'm your host, Fondue. In this week's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about cream cheese in the holidays.
Talking about me.
We're going to learn why Philadelphia cream cheese is called Philadelphia cream cheese.
Mystery.
We're going to follow up on that cream cheese shortage. We're going to learn a little bit about why cheese is stolen so frequently.
Really?
And we're going to hear a very cheesy joke. Stay tuned for Just Cheesy the Podcast, episode number 5. So cheesy, last week we talked a little bit about Hanukkah and how cheese was related.
Yeah, and side note, you said latke wrong.
Yep, I sure did. That's right, cheesy. Sometimes I stumble with pronunciation, but we'll try to do a little bit better today. According to the website I Love Imported Cheese, there's a Filipino tradition for Christmas with Edam cheese. And with Edam cheese, it looks like they actually are round and wrapped in red wax, and it's called queso de bola.
Ebola?
No, cheesy. Queso de bola, which means ball of cheese. And this is to be served alongside ham and warm bread.
Yum.
Looks like the Scandinavians do the holidays right. They go for a buffet style.
I love a buffet.
And they do something like a cheese board where they have Christmas ham, fish, casseroles, and cheeses such as Gouda, Munster, Swiss, and Havarti. In England, entire wheels of Stilton are gifted and paired with fresh fruit and port for dessert. And here in the U.S., with our melting pot of cultures, a few cheese-centric dishes have evolved. And one of my very favorites, and I know yours too, cheesy, is the cheese ball.
Cheese ball. Woot woot.
Some people make a cranberry pecan cheese ball. Some make a cheddar cheese ball. I always made the cheese ball with dried beef and onion and garlic powder.
Oh, they're so good.
They really are so good, cheesy, and they're easy to make. So speaking of cream cheese, did you know that there are tons of different brands of cream cheese?
I had a hunch.
I guess I did too, cheesy, but usually at the store you get the store's brand and Philadelphia. There are 8 listed on the tasteofhome.com website. They have Gina Marie. This cream cheese is served in a tube like breakfast sausage. There's Kite Hill, which is an almond milk-based cream cheese.
How do you milk an almond?
You can't milk an almond, cheesy, but there are all kinds of alternative products for milk, and those can also be turned into cheeses. Moving right along, there's Zingerman's, which is an old-school cream cheese based on a 1930s era recipe from Detroit. There's another vegan option called Mayoko's. There is a Greek yogurt option, which is called Greek, and it's made by Green Mountain Farms. There's Belle Chèvre. And there's also Tillamook. This is one of my all-time favorites based in Oregon. And so we have 7 of the cream cheeses here, and number 8 was, of course, Philadelphia. And this leads me to my next topic today, which is why Philadelphia cream cheese is called Philadelphia cream cheese. And it's not what you think.
'Cause it's made in Philadelphia?
Yeah, that's just it, cheesy. It's not from Philadelphia.
Really?
According to BillyPenn.com, the fact that Philadelphia was in the name stems not from its location, but its reputation. At the time, Philadelphia was widely considered as the country's top spot for high-quality dairy. Because of this, there are myths such as it was invented by someone in Philly, then stolen, or it was actually from Philadelphia, New York. It boils down to this. By the mid-1800s, U.S. farms were producing fresher, unaged version of the European Neufchâtel cheese. A dairyman named Lawrence boosted the cream content and then just called it cream cheese. And then this wily cheese distributor named Reynolds repackaged it and called it Philadelphia cream cheese. He was one of the first to uniquely identify a product with a brand that stood alone without any reference to the manufacturer. And from the 1800s to today, there have been several different manufacturers that have produced Philadelphia brand cream cheese. But with the packaging and logo staying the same, nobody really noticed the name changes or mergers. And today it's owned by Kraft.
Who's not a sponsor?
But if they were, we'd mention them right now. Just Cheesy the Podcast is sponsored by Just Cheesy Productions. This week, Cheesy might be posting something interesting on Instagram. Make sure to follow Cheesy on Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, Facebook, or basically everywhere on social media. Time for my favorite segment.
This week in cheese.
Last week, we found out that there were cream cheese shortages that were going to really mess with New York City. And if you recall, last week we talked about bagel shops being really hard hit, but this week we're actually talking about Junior's cheesecake.
Oh, no.
And that's going to be a real problem during the holidays. According to Bloomberg.com, one of the big reasons was due to a cyber attack on the biggest U.S. cheese manufacturer.
Holy cow.
Schreiber Foods in Wisconsin. They make cheese slices for most top burger chains in America, but they also have a cream cheese business that rivals Kraft's. And they were closed for days in October after hackers compromised their plants and their distribution centers. Cream cheese production in October fell 6.9%, but the consumption is up over 18% compared to 2019. So let's stay tuned to the cream cheese crisis of 2021.
I guess.
Did you know, Cheesy, that cheese is the most stolen food in the world?
I had no idea.
According to Mashed.com, an astonishing 4% of the world's cheese ends up stolen.
Wow.
So there's roughly 12.7 billion pounds made annually. So this means that 508 million pounds of cheese are stolen every year.
Holy cow.
And you said you wanted to know exactly how much that weighs. So if the average weight of a car is roughly 4,000 pounds, then cheese thieves steal the equivalent of 127,000 cars worth of cheese every year.
That's impressive.
According to this article, they've asked the age-old question, I guess, how does a cheese heist go down?
How?
Well, it looks like in 2019, you've got to have a guy on the inside. So they captured two men who stole $50,000 worth of cheese from Leprino Foods between 2017 and 2019. One of the thieves reportedly worked at the plant.
That's one way to do it. What's another way?
The second, they said, was to ask for it. In 2011, two women walked out of an Oregon Whole Foods store with a giant box of cheese. They just asked for it, and one went to the register, and the other walked out the door.
Yeah, that's creative.
And finally, you can do it the old-fashioned way by planning and executing a heist.
Okay.
So in 2018, French thieves took off with 700 blocks, which is the equivalent of $11,000 worth of cheese. And in 2019, a Canadian thief posing as a delivery man successfully stole $137,000 worth of cheese from Saputo Dairy.
Who knew?
Not me.
But why?
Primarily because it's expensive. Most cheese is stolen in large enough quantities for resale to other markets and restaurants. So on that note, I guess it's time for a joke.
I'm ready.
Why didn't the cheese want to be sliced?
I don't know why.
Because it had greater plans. Get it? Greater plans.
I get it. That one's so goofy.
Nope. It's a little bit cheesy. Thanks for listening to Just Cheesy the podcast. Stay tuned next week for episode number 6.
Stay cheesy, everybody.